Yeah, this is Point Black, coming in hard and off the card. Coming with the flow straight from the barrio. And coming with that heat from the motherfucking street. This is PBNN, Point Black National News. The late and the great edition, and the ghetto edition as well. Because this is what we must do. Even though we have the spies and the wiretapping and the hacking of your phone, which you probably don't got to do wiretapping because you're always on the phone. But, you know what I'm saying? And more ways and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? In these demon democratical, you know what I'm saying, Luciferian, New World Order, take over the world, tell us what we can and cannot do, starve people, kill people, you know what I'm saying, sex traffic people, do all types of garbage shit across the planet Earth. You know what I'm saying? Even driving the certain things as if you would drive a school of fish, you know what I'm saying, and drive them towards the net and then scoop them up. You know what I'm saying? Which would be a very peaceful day, you know what I'm saying, the grand finale feasting time, you see. As we see in many ways, we hate to use these phrases and these different talk because in more ways than one, they should not be. So while we are sitting here, you know, saying contemplating these wicked agendas and these different things that they do, we see the garbage in which they try to, kick off. Now, one of the things we have to look at is what we call today in this here live, saying with the great Point Black, we call this one, saying, a dance. Now the dance begins. Such as we've seen before with even Oliver North. You know what I'm saying? Once the damage was already done, the garbage was done, and everybody's getting in trouble now, and their head is on the chopping block, and so forth on. We see the dance. And then after that, that fades out, goes away. Everybody, generations pass away, many stop even thinking about it, and many don't even care. And before you know it, it slides right off the bucket until the person reiterates himself, I guess, back into the media or news or whatever, or some kind of YouTube or documentary that we begin to realize that the person is still, kicking as usual. You know what I'm saying? But when we look at even that situation, after the damage is done, now the dance begins. Same as we see here. And then out of that, nothing seems to change. It all remains just the same. And that's the part that we have to start to look at, because then it goes around in the same cycle. Now, when we look at coronavirus and what they did with coronavirus using these philanthropists, you know what I'm saying, bullshitterists, fucking evil, wicked, beastly, clockhead, nothing list, you know what I'm saying, in their brain probably. Sometimes, there's a true saying, sometimes they say you need to smash their brains in because there's nothing in it. But at the same time, yes, there is, because they were intelligent enough to do the wicked, beastly acts they do, to create the things they create, and then use them and then infiltrate clean within our government. And our government have people in there who let these things go in and out because they probably all are like sucking balls to the oligarchs and the rich and the big time elites and shit. You know what I'm saying? Anytime suits show up instead of military, something is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because the highest of the highest should not be a black and white suit, but at the same time, it should be the military in itself. You know what I'm saying? Not as a renegade, but as a fighting force for the United States. We don't see that anymore. And we haven't seen that in a very long time. Even when we look at Austin, you know what I'm saying? He's up there doing the singing dance. Everybody that creeped Joe Biden added to his administration were all set into place to do this damaging apocalyptic garbage that we have seen. We must now start to look at this when they pull these tricks so we can avert them before they happen. Because a good question is, who averted COVID 19? You know what I'm saying? And then when you say something about it, we get a vaccination identification type shit, they take your post down. But when people speak the truth, how dare these you know, censor the truth in any shape or form? And this should be very alarming to many, many people for many, many years and to the new generation itself. Because at any given time, the program can be geared where? Towards you. As we have seen, how many is in prison at this time? You know what I'm saying? Who have keep on down the road. Nobody's saying that you couldn't blah, da, do that. But how many lives has been lost to where they're now sitting and rotting in there because of your chaotic mind frame? And you know that your chaotic mind frame leads you to be eventually come a follower. You know what I'm saying? If you are not a leader in itself. So it doesn't show for many of the new generation that you are leading any goddamn thing except following and facilitating into the garbage that you have been taught and picked up, because you didn't pick up anything new, because you're doing the same shit that was going on then. So what new did you pick up? You was just once a baby, you know what I'm saying, in your time and generation now. I was once a baby in my generation and time. You know what I'm saying? Just like I didn't know, you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And you picked it up as you went along by looking at others and seeing and so on and so on. So the same thing goes for you today. You know what I'm saying? That's what you did. And you chose that life because you figured that life was what? Rewarding. You know what I'm saying? Even when you see a lot of people out here calling themselves a shooter, you know what I'm saying? Wasting your talents in bullshit. You know what I'm saying? When it can be done in its rightful way, to know when and when not to. You're not doing that, are you? You're just running around shooting black men. So it still come out to the same shit. We must look at that even when you look at the political arena and the Caucasian in his mind frame as to who's leading his government. Because your people, and many seems to be in control, even of some black people have certain little power, you know what I'm saying, that is given. You know what I'm saying? Now, when we look at many things to deal with today, and we look at the situation even with LGBTQ, is another situation in which we know was an agenda put forward by the creep Joe Biden administration by putting certain people in. Even Obama was put there to bring forth this Luciferian, blood-sucking, chaotic, crazy, chaotic nonsense, you know what I'm saying, all across the planet, you know. And it seems like to me that sex trafficking of children, I am asking the question again, and I will say it again. What the fuck is up with these people and children? If they ain't eating them, they fucking them. I'm gonna just be frank. If it's raping them, which is fucking them, abusing them in all ways. And yes, you are abusing. I have children of my own. You know what I'm saying? And I speak to them constantly about doing bullshit like that to people, or even trying that trick. Don't go down the road with that evil nonsense. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like this seems to be the norm amongst the elites, that they feel that they could just go around and take people's children, eat them, fuck them, sex traffic them, Lord knows what else with them, you know what I'm saying? And on and on and on. So the question still remains, is what are you doing and why are you always attacking the children? This does not make for good looking. I don't give a flying crap if you're an elite or a B-elite, an oligarch or whatever. You have been doing this garbage for years. My question would be, ain't you tired? Now, when we look at the because sexual habits can become a stigmata. You know what I'm saying? In certain ways, your sexual preference based on how your sexuality may run can be a protection. Like my advice to a lot of young men today, you need to start to wear condoms. You know what I'm saying? Look out and start wearing condoms because COVID-19 is a hell of a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And you may want to start wearing condoms based on that being done to them if you haven't had it done to you. So you might want to have condoms on because if you, like they used to say, AIDS is a sexual transmitted disease, but they never explained to you how it's, well, they have, but many didn't pick up. You know what I'm saying? And they want to know how it's transmitted, you know what I'm saying, through the sexual groove. Some may say it's through kissing, some may say it's through different things, you know what I'm saying? You know, without more ways than one. No, it's not. It's passing through the genital area. You know what I'm saying? So when you go into a girl and then you ejaculate, that hole is open. And then while it's open and doing what it's supposed to do by pushing out, when it begins to close, it sucks in. And when it sucks in, you suck in her juices and you get the AIDS transmitted disease. Same thing can happen with COVID-19. Pay attention. School. The session is in class. The class of the sessions. You know what I'm saying? But school is in session. Class is on. You need to pay attention. You know. Now, when we look at even the sexual context of certain situation, we see the foolishness of its highest degree. And then you have a bubble looking eye fool up there as a black woman, you know what I'm saying, defending the garbage in which they do, which I call she's now doing the dance. You know what I'm saying? And it always take a black idiot to go up there and, defend this garbage in itself. You know what I'm saying? You know, and from what we see, it is highly retarded that you would sit up there, you know what I'm saying, in always, and defend such a thing. So now we're going to show how foolish it really is. I'm sorry, how foolish it is in the dance in which they do. And I want you to closely listen to the argument based on this now.
I believe that to be true, but and there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there.
Listen to this, and this is coming from a black woman who's supposed to be a black woman, and I guess defending this nonsense in itself. You know what I'm saying? So let me see if I can get it up and running to itself and get it going. Because when we look at the gender situation, you want to say what it is and what it's not. But the gender situation goes to show the type of people that's in our government and the garbage in which they are doing. Even putting it in the military, as we see. Putting LGBTQ books in military schools and teaching the kids this nonsense. I guess so when they go out in the field, instead of fighting a war or whatever, they're fucking each other in the ass. You know what I'm saying? As men to men. You know what I'm saying? Which does not make any sense at all. Now, listen to the explanation by a black woman, which I think she's probably an idiot. I think she's a real jackass. But let's just keep it real. And she looks stupid when you look at her Just by looking at her, you can see the stupidity within her. But sitting up there trying to justify this situation. And I'm sure many other people have seen this or heard this before. But let's take a look at
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all of our witnesses here today. Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
They're still changing up
But
the
I'm
sex.
trying to understand.
So you're stupid. That's the first stupid move she made by
Do
saying.
you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Explain that. Just do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to
You hear the
acknowledge.
nonsense?
But sex is a
Okay,
sign
so
of birth.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused.
Intersex.
So you're
That's
born.
an excuse.
I'm talking about biology. Male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged, but again, I'm not a doctor here. What I
See how
can
she
what
tries
is
to dance out of it?
is that there's a difference
I'm not a
between
doctor.
sex and gender, and I think
But
in
the
these
black nigga
conversations
of
we're
the time
conflating
is
the
shit.
two.
Well, but I
Conflating
want
the
to
two.
start with sex. Okay, there's male, there's female.
No, she's sitting up there as a black woman talking about intersex, trying to make and justify the chaotic nonsense in which to justify the LGBTQ case. You know what I'm saying? Which I think is asinine and stupid. And this goes all the way through Hollywood as well. And all these different people. This is their agenda, the chaotic mind frame talking about intersex. What the fuck is intersex? I just told you that sexual preference is your preference. You know what I'm saying? For you to choose a gender and say that you're trans or whatever woman, but you're still a woman. We were saying that all along. Didn't Pharaoh say that too? Young Pharaoh? If you're a man and you change your gender to a female gender, your genitals, which stands for gender, you know what I'm saying? Like instead of a dick, you have a woman's pussy. So if you do that, you're still a man. That doesn't change anything because you made those changes. So you're trying to justify something that's not a reality and bring it to reality. Let's move on.
When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third sex.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez
See?
as I'm not a physician.
So you see?
Okay.
But she up there telling us.
And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive,
You
and
see?
the
You
definitions
see?
are always growing.
You see?
Today I can tell you,
More
I
than
talk to young
five?
people
More
that talk about non-binary.
Black
and
nigga.
More than five?
Chaotic.
I think the gender is not a binary, is what I'm trying
But
to say.
are there more
It
than
is-
five genders? I'm just trying to understand.
What genders
there
are
more
you
than five
talking about?
genders?
Well, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate
That's
for
a
their gender, and yet I'm
bullshit.
wearing pants today.
Are there,
I think that there are
That
ways
is
that we
bullshit.
express
Are there more than
that are
five genders?
expansive.
She don't want
Are
to
there
answer
more
the
than
question.
five?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming how many genders there are,
See?
but what I can say
Is
is
there
that
an
genders are
infinite
flexible.
She's an idiot.
Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different
See?
genders that
She's
exist.
lying.
And I can also say that
She
it's
don't know
a
what the
term
fuck she's
that's
talking about.
evolving. If you
She's
look
an
at young
idiot.
people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man.
Why
So
not?
I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identities
She's
are, what their gender
garbage.
identities are.
She's garbage. She's
Let's
garbage.
get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes: male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your
This black
gender.
woman
Okay,
is
so
an
there's
idiot.
infinite number. All right, let's go back to the
She's
biology.
lying. conniving,
female,
and a
boy, girl.
nutcase.
Okay. Biologically,
Up in our Congress.
do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and
so
I
why
can't
is she
speak
up
to
there
that.
talking?
What's your real world experience?
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
That a biological male has a
garbage.
physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well,
she's dancing, ain't she? Just to bring the LGBTQ case.
How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben?
That don't have changed the rule.
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility.
That's right.
When you don't concede.
That's right.
That a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business.
That's right.
But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too.
That's right.
Parents have rights.
That's right.
And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sport in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's right. You see what I'm saying? Now she dancing around, twisting and turning, trying to be Mrs. Black Intelligent with her stupid bifocal glasses on with a big forehead shining out there with a black ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? Talking call, you ain't no goddess in my book, you're an idiot. Because first of all, if you had, like the man just said, if you have sex in your bedroom and your sexual thing is that you like to be with a man that has changed himself to a woman, that's your private business. If you want to be in the bed with a woman and she wants to be with a woman who have titties, pussy, and a dick, that's your sexual preference. So you have to make that happen. It wasn't that you were born that way. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mental thing in which could be a mental birth defect in more ways than one. It doesn't matter how it happens. Some people don't even have it like that until they probably either come in contact with it. You know what I'm saying? It could happen. They've been raped. You know what I'm saying? They could be sexual abuse. And then from there, now they shock their brain up the spinal cord. And now their mind frame likes that. They call that putting their soul in you when they do that, really. You know what I'm saying? And they shock your thing. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of men, when they that happens to them, they want to go back into it again. Because now their mental psyche has now been damaged to the order in which it is of things that should be. And they probably already mentally, through being born with some kind of drug addict or some kind of chemical effect that took place, even coming from their parents going through the same thing themselves. Now probably you're on borderline, and it didn't take much to tip you over. Because a real man, no matter where he gets raped or abused or whatever, if he's a man, he's not going to continue down that same road. You know what I'm saying? There is only two genders, and there is no expansion to that. It's called male and female. There is no expansion to that. And whether or not the new generation wants to go to all kind of sexual exploration, all kind of sexual exploration, because of their mental and this and that and the third or whatever, however they choose to go down that road, that's your business. But it's not your business to go into somebody's school or military schools or wherever and push your agenda as to your sexual preference and chaotic mind frame that has been embedded through the systematic understanding of the scientific chemicalistic vibes, you see, that they put out there into your community, and probably over the many generations of years of your four parents, and probably including your mother, your father, his father, mother, and her mother, father, brother, and on and keep going back. Could have happened anywhere along the line. But there is only two. So LGBTQ is living in a world in which that they want to push sexual genders, not the trueness of gender, but a sexual preference, sexual preference within their mentality. Could have come from a birth defect, any type of way could have gotten there. But majority of it comes from that. This is why they put drugs in your community. You see, because these things will make you have, a lot of people do drugs and have kids on these drugs. You know what I'm saying? But it's heroin, dust, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the child escapes and don't go down that road, but sometimes it don't take much to kick it over because it's already been damaged, and the damage is just one tip from going down that road. So we have to look at the scientific understanding of the bullshit that she is lying about and know there is only two genders. Anytime you go outside those two genders, there's going to be something that could be deadly wrong. It could also be something that cause the two genders to be damaged. And this is what they're trying to do, because they don't want, they like she just said, a lot of people are exploring and they don't want to do that no more. They want to be whatever they want to be. Well, that's good for you because that's private and that's sexual, your gender, that you want to take and change your genitals or whatever gender and go do that type of thing. You see, but there's still only two. Nobody is born without it, and I wish those same gender people would tell their parents that, because if that's the case and they had did all that they're doing, they wouldn't be here today to have this argument in the first place. As we moving on, you know what I'm saying?